We are back with another week. Just getting mogged on.
Multi-poses. Yeah.
We've been very busy gentlemen lately, so we apologize for the infrequent posts and uploads. But we are back this week and
Paul and
should be
I,
good to go.
Both got back from winning our own versions of the Olympia, and now we're back. We're both.
It was hosted in my
holders.
room. I was the one and only competitor.
Paul's wife commented, "Nice pose."
Hi, that's it. I got best poser of the night. It's like, you know that old, like, when you were a kid and you're shooting basketball. I know everybody did this, but like you'd miss a shot and be like, all of a sudden there's another 3 seconds on the clock for some reason, and then you start shooting and then you miss. It's, oh my gosh, there's another 5 seconds. It's like
he got fouled.
Yeah. Oh no, and then he misses. Oh, he gets 3 more foul shots. Just making up rules as you go. That's me with me in the mirror, do my own Olympia. Getting best poser. Boom. Oh, look at that symmetry. Look at the size. It's insane. Oh, he might be 100 pounds down than the other Mr. Olympias, but he's just that much better.
Your wife walks in. Why are you holding a trophy? You got like a whole Olympia trophy.
It's a whole, actual like golden Olympia trophy. Don't worry about it. I won it. Fair and square. But figured we would. What?
I'm just saying, now I'm looking for an Olympia trophy.
Yeah, it's what is it? It's isn't it just a medal? Or well, there is an actual
there's
trophy,
an actual
right?
Trophy. Yeah.
Which one is it?
Etsy seems to be the only place to.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
That.
I thought it was like a guy holding a barbell. It's fucking old school. You can still see the dick and balls on it, at least the old ones.
Oh, look at this. Sandow 1896 bodybuilding statue for $700. All right. Sounds good.
That's actually pretty sweet. If you're into the bodybuilding history, 1890, that's not correct. 1896, not Mr. Olympia hammer. Oh,
no,
it's
just who the statue is of. It's not saying like this is the Olympia.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like 1890. No, I was not running at the time. I wonder if the Mr. Olympia trophies are ever on sale. That shit would go so fast.
Yeah, that's like Super Bowl rings and stuff like that. Like major players.
Honestly, like more rare than that because there's only one made each year.
Yeah. I just meant for
not as valuable. Yeah, not as valuable. I just meant like
resale value.
Yeah, definitely. But figured we would touch on my opinion of the RP Hypertrophy Strength App. So I used it for about 2 weeks before I stopped using it, and I learned a lot from it. I learned, about more leniency on rep ranges, more options for rep ranges and sets. It doesn't have to be so stringent like I was before, doing 8 to 14. 14, 12, 10, 8 basically was what I was doing, and I've more so opened my eyes to. It's more like opened my eyes to more options for warm-ups, what I can do with warm-ups, what they're really for, what a working set truly feels like. Like, you should have seen me doing triceps yesterday. Like, I felt like my triceps were going to fucking fall off because I didn't realize how little I was actually going to mechanical true failure until I started counting the 3 or 2 rep. So like week 1 was 3 reps in reserve, and then week 2 was 2 reps in reserve. And the 2 reps in reserve was like what I was going to before, and considering that failure, I thought it was failure. But then like I was like, wow, I still have like a couple more in the tank at least. So like this week, I'm going to failure and all of it, and it's a fucking whole new feeling. Like I'm like, what was I thinking before? Like thinking I was going to failure when I really wasn't. It was all in my mind. It was like, oh, there's no way I'm getting another one, after doing a rep. But then like if you keep pushing, you realize you end up getting like 3 or 4 more than you think you can.
Did you talk to your coach about that at all?
I kind of gave him my opinion. No, I didn't really talk to him too much about that. I've like the sets and reps and movements, stuff like that I've built over time, I know are pretty decent and good enough for anybody to use, but like leaving it in the tank was just a mind like mind issue. Like it was my mental state when I was training, like thinking that I was a failure when I wasn't. So there wasn't really anything to report on. I just fixed that and we're good to go. It's not like I wasn't training at all. You know, I was still training and still working hard. It just wasn't to the most I could possibly do. And then the biggest gripe that I had with it, so I learned more about like splits and stuff like that, like what options for splits are now. So like my splits now are like 3 on 1 off basically. And so it's 3 on 1 off, 3 on 1 off. And each of the days that I'm on are different training days. So like basically what I do is now is instead of doing like 4 or 5 movements on one muscle set and then like maybe 1 or 2 on another that is an anterior muscle. Now what I do is like 3 movements on one muscle group and then like 1 on another one that's been a few days. So like yesterday I did triceps and I touched up chest because that was so that'll be day 4. Day 4 is tricep with a touch up on chest because day 1 is chest. So it's been a few days since I hit chest, so I just touched it up with some hard flies. Or no, it was back. Sorry, I got them mixed up. So it was back because it's been a while since I hit back. And then like biceps, I'll hit chest because there's a few days since I hit chest. So basically it's like 3, depending on the day, like 3 sets or 3 movements for like the main muscle I want to focus on. And then like a touch up muscle. So like yesterday or triceps was back because it's anterior. And then I do like 1 movement for legs, but I'll do like quads day 1, hams day 2, glutes day 3, and then same thing with 4, 5, 6. That way I never have like a dedicated leg day, but I'm still hitting my legs throughout the week. And I can also enjoy it too, because it's like with a dedicated leg day, it's hard. You know, it hurts, it burns, and I'm just exhausted afterwards. I don't have the energy in the tank. Yeah, I'm just so depleted. Where with like the way I'm training now, I get to enjoy upper body day every day, basically. And then at the end, I get a really good pump on my legs. You know, I could like end with like a really good curl machine, like pump, or like do some nice leg extensions or something. Yesterday, I did like a leg press kind of movement, basically. And that ended up with a solid quad pump, right? So like I'm feeling pumped kind of throughout my whole body, which is pretty sweet. So I get to enjoy legs.
This is because you picked a plan that is upper body focused, though, correct?
Yes. So that's what I learned from it with the upper body focused mesocycle from RP Hypertrophy Strength App, was that each day you hit something from legs. There was a lot of calves in there. Like there's a shit ton of calves, but I don't really need to do a lot of calves. Yeah, it was like I was doing 6 days on, 1 day off with that app, and like 2 of the days was like multiple sets of calves, where like when I do quads, hams, or glutes, it's like 1 really working set for those. I'm like, that's not enough.
It knows that my calves beat yours, and it's like we have to catch them.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care anymore. But
the only thing
I just do calves on Stairmaster is really all that I do calves for. So
that's a great way, super underrated way to hit calves. Just stand on your toes a little more and just go.
Yeah, I just stand on the balls of my feet on the edge of the stair, and that's it. But then, like, if my calves get tired, I'll push my feet in, and like this is where the muscle connection comes in. I could like focus on my hams and like kind of like push against my heel a little bit to drive my hams, same with my glutes and all that. You know,
I was gonna say you can do that with quads too, where you feel like you're stamping into the ground. Yeah,
exactly. You could focus different leg muscles on Stairmaster, which is cool. You could however you want to step. It's just I kind of rotate it. That way it's like one muscle doesn't get too tired. So I rotate throughout.
This is so like second nature to us for my muscle. I honestly wish I remember when I first clicked and was like, "Huh, I can do different.
I can do that. I can just do that with my mind."
We should find like relatively new people in the gym and like try and get their reactions for the first time they
if we could, that'd be awesome. There's a way to time it.
Just you see someone doing like a set and you see them go.
You're like, wait a minute, that makes sense. I remember that when I first started training, like I'd be doing something and I'm like, you feel it in the muscle you're supposed to feel it in, like especially pull downs, like that, like lat pull downs and shit took me so long to really feel it in my lats. When I finally did, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, there we go, no more biceps, it's just all back. And you know, here we are now. I could target different heads in my back and with different grips and shit.
It happens, and then you and I are laughing in the gym, and everyone's like, "Whoa, these guys are psycho! They're laughing in the gym while they're..."
What a fucking weirdo! And then people are like, I just know, like, especially if you're newer or even on the intermediate side, when I'm like I'll be telling someone, I'm like, yeah, when I do close grip lat pull downs, I do my first finger and my middle finger for a grip. And they're like, why? And I'm like, oh boy, I'm about to teach you something. And then like the angle of the grip too, like how angled the actual like T-bar is when you're pulling it down, you know, shit like that makes a huge difference. But it doesn't for the new people, you know, you're just trying to get it in your back. That's my goal when I was new, was just trying to get it in my back, not in my biceps. I didn't care where it felt as long as I got it in my back. But yeah, so with the RP app, I think it's really good I think it's ideally for people who are not bodybuilding and for those that are on the intermediate side, because for a bodybuilder, your plan's constantly changing. You know, it could change from week to week or even day to day, depending on where you're at in your plan. You know, your training sessions per week is going to change. So like for me, 3 on 1 off does not translate to a 6 day on. Like the problem with the app with the split is it can only base off a number of days per week. So like 3 on 1 off doesn't translate directly to a number of days per week. You know, most weeks, like it's 6 days a week. Essentially, most weeks it's like 5 or 6, but it's not exact. You know, some weeks I'll only have 1 rest day, where some weeks I'll have 2. You know, it all just depends. So it's like you can't do that. You can't do 3 on 1 off with it, or like 2 on 1 off or anything like that, which is unfortunate. If you had like a 3 on 1 off and 2 on 1 off, then you could do it that way. That way it's the exact same thing each week, because that's equals 7 days. But for me, it just doesn't work that way. And then on top of that, like for me, mesocycles, I get the idea behind it, but for me, it's not very beneficial, especially being on, you know, allegedly being on gear. Like you can really go to failure on pretty much every set, like pretty consistently. You know, you don't have to do like reps in reserve, and you don't have to do like a deload week, because your body's able to handle it now. You know, your body has recovery to do that. That's the point of taking steroids, you know, of taking testosterone and stuff like that. So for me, like I think it's really good for intermediate people who are on the natural side, probably, and want to have a structure to their training that they don't have to think about, and kind of look at it from like a 6-week, 4, 5, or 6-week option for like what they want to do. So you could do, so like what's cool about it is that when I would do like let's say like tricep rope push downs on 1 week, like I'll get to a certain number of reps on a certain weight, and then I'll be like, okay, I wasn't really sore going into, I wasn't actually sore going to this. It never got sore or whatever. Like you tell it what level of soreness. Then you say, you know, how hard it was to do the actual set. And then from there, how good of a pump you got. Based off that, it'll adjust your reps and weight for the following week. So it might be like, you know, another 5 pounds, or it might be like 2 more reps or something like that. But then the problem was with the reps in reserve is that it's calculating those reps that you're supposed to target based off the reps in reserve that they want you to hit. So like if I hit 10 with 3 reps in reserve, the next week they might want me to hit like 9 with like 2 reps in reserve. But like really, I could probably hit like more than that, or at least 10. So like you can't, it's calculating the reps and weight you should be doing with the reps in reserve in mind. And that's a problem for me, because it's like I want to really go to failure, and it never let me go to failure until one of the 6 weeks. Only 1 week out of 6 weeks, you go to 0 reps in reserve.
Yeah, and I think that's like truly, like you mentioned, the natural side of things. I think that's just like further addressing that, because like on the natural side of things, we have on weeks, we have off weeks. Like there's some days where you just don't feel it. There's some days where you do feel it. And from a mental standpoint, you absolutely have that. But from a physical standpoint, you're basically ready to go every single time you step into that gym.
Yeah, I'm already recovered.
Exactly. Yeah. And so because of that, you're absolutely right. Like maybe there should be like a, you can't really flavor it like maybe it's the enhanced program. Like I'm trying to think of how you could like flavor it without
what I would like is if I could do like a custom plan where I could say like, okay, build me the week for training, but like build me like a 3 on 1 off, 3 on 1 off split, but have the same thing each week. No reps in reserve, just the same thing each time. And I could like adjust it. Like if I could just do a 3-on-1 off, 3-on-1 off split, have it write me the workouts, change the reps and weights, and always do 0 reps in reserve, I'd be way more open to using it. But I can't do that. I can't do any of that. So that's my problem. So like you said, it's perfect for those who are natural, who do get sore pretty frequently, you know, who might not have the energy going into every single day. But it's just, and then also like, you know, you do the same thing each week. Like I know people who've been in the gym for 20 years and they've always done Monday through Friday, had Saturday, Sunday off. You know, that's how they've always done it. So like somebody like that would be perfect too, you know, where you have the exact same structure every single week. You know, you don't want to deviate from that. So like it, you know, it has its pros and its cons. It's just, for me, it's not ideal. So I would really, there are people I'd recommend it to, you know, like I said, intermediate, possibly natural, you know, on the side where they do the same thing each week. You know, they want some sort of structured plan. They don't want to do a lot of the thinking for what they have to do. They want it to do the math for them on the weight and reps. And they want it in like a 6-week or 4-week structure or something like that. And then changing it up every 6 weeks or something, and then doing something different with it. So like, that's who it's ideal for. It's just not ideal for me. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And I think, you know, from a trial period, like you paid the month, right? You didn't pay for a year
I paid
out.
for the month, and there is money back. So I might be like, I don't know if I'm going to leave it. I mean, either way, I'm going to cancel. But it's like, in one way, I want to be like, just keep the money because I already spent it, and thank you for letting me use your app. But I also don't know if I'm like, you know what, I could use that $35 towards like a pre-workout or something, you know? So it's like, I'm kind of torn on that, but we'll see what I end up doing with that. But either way, there are plenty of people that I would recommend it to. But I mean, it's also like with the 6-on-1 off, the science does show that 3 to 5 days a week in the gym is what's ideal for hypertrophy. So, you know, a 3-on-1 off, 3-on-1 off makes a lot more sense than 6 days on, 1 day off makes sense. So I did that for a couple of weeks, and I'm just fucking exhausted. Like I'm just not used to 6-on-1 off anymore, and my body doesn't want it. It wants some more rest days. You know, I could feel that, you know,
and it's just tough. Like if there was like that added customability into it where you can take like, you know, instead of going by weeks, change it to days, and then have it actually like, because it uses the AI to build out your plan and all that. Like if it could it just be tinkered just that little bit, and then just really, it would be more personalized, then I think it would work.
Yeah, and they're always adding more features. Like when they first started, you only could do like 4-week mesocycles. You couldn't skip any sets. You couldn't do it. Like they add stuff over time. Like they've added drop sets. They've added, you know, 6-week options for the mesocycle. They've added like skipping. They're going to be adding skipping weeks soon. I got an email from, I mean, it said Mike Israel wrote it. I don't know if he actually wrote it, but I got an email from them saying they're going to be adding skipping weeks soon. So you could skip like a deload, because they're like, if you don't want to do a deload, you could skip that week and just start back over. Stuff like that. So, and then the other problem too that I noticed right away is that if you skip a day in the gym, like if you don't have the time to go, or, you know, something comes up or something, you basically have to skip that whole day. You can't move that day to the next day. You have to. So like if like I have a back day on Friday and I skip that, it's not like back day gets pushed to Saturday. It's like I have to do my Saturday day, you know, my Saturday training day. So like there's no way to like move it at all. It wouldn't move all the future workouts forward. You just skip that whole day. And it's like
built for the absolute ideal consistent schedule, which is for some people possible. Like if you dedicate, like if your livelihood comes from the gym, sure, you could do that. But for literally everybody else, life happens. Like you can't always control, you know, what's going to happen. So that definitely puts a bit of a hindrance on it.
But it's not as big of a deal if 1, you're natural, and 2, you're not bodybuilding. You know, if you do skip a muscle group, it's not as big of a deal. Where for me, it's like I want to make sure I hit every single muscle group each week or each cycle, you know. And like you could have it pretty structured, like cops, for instance, are like that. You know, they're very structured with their days. And I know, you know, there's many cops out there who train the exact same time every single day. You know, they do the same stuff every day. You know, they train in the police, you know, the actual precinct gym, or they might train at another gym that gives it for free or whatever. But you know, there is an audience, there is a target, you know, an ideal customer profile, an IC piece, and it's just not me. You know, I'm not going to bash on it. It's a really good service. It's just not for me. But there is definitely an audience for it. So definitely will give it that. But it was cool to use. I just moved over to this app called Heavy, HEVY. It's $5 a month to get all the features in it. And my watch, it syncs with my watch. So my watch, like I could change sets and reps and stuff like that for my watch if I wanted to. Keeps my heart rate tracked. It knows what my average heart rate was throughout the workout. So like when I'm in prep and I want to aim for a target heart rate or something throughout the whole thing, like 130 or something like that to like burn the calories, then I can do that. I can keep an eye on it. That one's a good app. I could do whatever I want for the reps and sets and exercises and stuff like that. And then do templates and stuff and just be like, all right, start this template as a workout. And then there was something I was going to say. The only problem is that with these apps, they don't use the like AI in quotations to, adjust your reps or sets or reps or weight for the next, week or something. You have to kind of do it yourself, but it does tell you what you did the previous week. So I could be like, all right, based off this routine, what did I do last week? And it's like, all right, I did this many, let's add another rep, or let's add like 2 pounds or 2.5 pounds or something, So like you just got to do it yourself. You just got to look at it, see what you did last week, and then adjust it from there. But the way I do it now is like, I'm not so much into warm-ups anymore. That's something that I'm kind of leaning away from. I used to do like basically 2 warm-up sets, 1 or 2 warm-up sets each workout or each movement. But now it's like I do 3. The one what I was explaining last time we talked about it, which was the 30 reps max for 12, 20 rep max for 8, and then 10 rep max for 4. Can you not hear me?
I'm getting music playing in my... There we go. Sorry, an ad popped up out of nowhere.
Oh.
I was trying to figure out if you were like adding background music to emphasize your point.
It's just like, it's like Interstellar.
Yeah.
It's like No Time for Caution from Interstellar. But yeah, so I just do the 30 rep max for 12, 20 rep max for 8, and then 10 rep max for 4. That's my warm up pretty much. And then every movement after that, there's most likely not a warm up. I just kind of dive right into it, especially if it's a muscle group I've already hit. So like when I did triceps yesterday, my second and third movement of triceps, I didn't warm up at all. I just went right into it. And if I do want to warm up on something, I might do like my 20 rep max for 8. Pretty easy. Don't got it. There's really no exertion there. It's just to move the muscles around and kind of limber them up a bit. And then I get right into my working sets. And then my working sets are like truly to failure. Like can't move it anymore. Pushing as hard as I possibly can, frying my nerve system. And it's still not moving. Like that's what each set is. And I may do like 2. If it's a smaller muscle group, I might do 3. But most muscle groups, I'll do like 2 real sets, like 2 failure. Because anything more than 2 sets, like you're fucking fried. So, especially legs, like that's something that a lot of people who hit legs really hard will say is that if you truly go to failure, like one true, like as many as you could possibly get set, on anything involving legs, you were fucking toast. Like you can't do 2 sets of that. So,
don't let Paul dissuade you from the fact that he uses a foam roller for his warm ups.
Yep, I do totally 100%. What I do is I turn on the Stairmaster and I just push my muscles into the stairs as they roll. That's what I do.
You just
or like a treadmill. I just grind it on the yeah. I just bounce it against the stairs. I turn it all the way up, interval as high of an interval as it'll go. And just bing, 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 bing. Oh yeah, perfect.
That's funny.
My warm up set is done. But yeah, so that's my opinion of the app. I think it's good. It's just not for me. And I change apps every so often too. Sometimes I just want to look at something different. There's a few that are all kind of do the same shit as Heavy. And sometimes I'll just change it just to look at something different.
I was going to say, you change just about everything. Like your gyms you need to change, apps you need to change. Like
I need change.
Yeah, exactly. So if anything, that makes you a well-qualified person to speak on products.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is the like ADD in my system, right? It's like the lack of, once I stop getting dopamine from something, I want to change it. So like that's why I've tried so many different hobbies and shit, and like there's only a few that I've really like stuck to for a long period of time. Bodybuilding is just one of them that I've really just stuck to. It's kind of just part of who I am now. But like those apps, like sometimes I'm just like, man, I just really fucking don't want to look at this app anymore. I just get tired of looking at it. It's the same thing I've looked at every day. I've used the same movements, same templates, all this shit. And sometimes I just want to look at something different, and I'll just change apps. They do the same shit. It's just a different app that looks a little different. Like there's one called Strong. There's one called Rep Count. There's one called Heavy. Like they're all like basically the exact same app. Just look different. So I like to change. And then same with the gyms, like, you know, once every year or so I'll change gyms. I'm waiting for QC Pump House to open still.
And all the apps just happen to have the metal gray and red as their as their color tones. It's like the
most of them have like
colors.
Most of them are either white or like a dark gray is like their colors. And then sometimes like they might have like a different color for like a check mark if you're done the set or something, or like your notes or whatever. But like for the most part, they're all pretty structured the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, wait for QC Pump House to open still. They said like end of April, like the last week of April, they're like, oh, we'll be open within 30 days. It's already been like 45 days since then. I'm like, great. This is awesome. So I'm still spending a lot of money.
You are on the list though, right?
Oh yeah. I already signed up. You know, I paid the $50 for the enrollment or whatever. I'm just waiting for them to actually open. They did get like, so I've like from the beginning, I've been kind of skeptical if they're like, oh, it's 2 times the equipment than Fitness Factory. I've been skeptical of that, but they did, just because I've seen videos. I'm like, it doesn't look like 2 times as much. Looks like maybe 3/4 of the same amount. Doesn't look like a shit ton like that. Like 2 times is a shit ton. But then they got even more equipment in a couple weeks ago, like a shit ton of equipment in a couple weeks ago. And I was like, all right, now it's starting to look more like we're getting there. So we'll see what it ends up coming out as whenever they do get it up and running. But I am definitely ready for a change because I'm like, I thought I had to wait for shit at Megaflex. Man, sometimes, like the other day, I had to wait 15 minutes for one fucking cable machine to be open. I'm like, this gym's supposed to be dead. Like, why am I walking around looking for? And the problem is too, like, is that there's so many people will jump on shit. So like, I saw a cable machine open. So I was like, all right, let me grab the easy bar, walk over there so that I can get right into it. As I'm walking over there with the easy bar, somebody puts their bag down and just starts using it. I'm like, I know I didn't put anything down and I can't claim that. And I'm not mad at him for doing that. But it's like, you should at least have your shit when you go over there. Like, don't put your bag down, walk away, go find the attachment and then come back. Like, just show up with the attachment.
Just don't use attachments anymore. Grab the wire and just go.
Yeah, that makes, let me do that with like lat pull downs. Just that's a good idea. Or just hook my fingers and destroy my bones. Just doing this shit, you know. But
wrap the wire around your arm and just pull down.
Just like right around your elbow.
Yep.
You just like pull it down from there and just lose all circulation in your arm. Rip some tendons and shit. But no, it's I'm getting kind of over it. As expensive as it is, you'd think it'd be more dead. And the only like the expensive side, the side I pay more for is pretty slow over there, which is good. But if the cable machines are being used over there, I'm fucked. Like there's no other cable machines basically. And usually it's fine. Usually I'm fine. Usually I don't really have to wait for anything. Sometimes because it's so busy, sometimes people will hog dumbbells, but they're actually cracking down on that. They're like, you can't hog dumbbells, which I'm like, fucking respect.
Good.
I hate that shit. You grab like a 30-pound set, which is like a very common set to use, and you go 300 feet away to do lunges. It's like, dude, like fucking put it back in between sets. That's why you do your lunges near the dumbbell rack so you can put it back.
Yeah.
Hate that shit.
Speaking of gyms, I keep thinking about Empire again and again because they just opened up another gym, and
What do they open up?
No, like it's the same area. They just keep building out into the complex. It's called Gym 3 now, and it's just a whole nother piece.
What's the whole other section though? Like, what are they doing in there?
Yeah, it's just more space for weights. But the problem and why I left is like the second gym they opened, it was just weights. It was like it was leg focus, like all of that, but there was no mirrors and there were no machines. And I was like, I can do a workout with no machines, like that's not a problem, but I need mirrors. Like I just need to like see what I'm working. And
especially doing free weight.
Exactly.
With machines, not necessarily, but
Exactly,
with free weight,
because you're
absolutely.
locked in. Yeah, exactly. But the gym 3, from what I've seen, I don't think it's open yet, but it is like surrounded by mirrors, and it's got like real
Mm,
cool lighting. So I might have to take a day trip up there and check it out and convince
yeah.
myself to hop back over there.
But remember, a big reason why you did leave is because of how busy it was.
And the people there, yeah.
Yeah. So
But
like,
and another reason, we're gonna keep throwing butts back and forth. I saw
yeah,
I saw my first gymfluencer at Van, and I threw up. He had a guy following him with a camera.
it happens. You'll see that everywhere.
Van was unique in that there was never that. People didn't even like really take selfies there.
Yeah, but it happens. You know, you're gonna have people like that, like fitness factories like that. You know, there's a few like influencers. There's one guy, I think he takes the photos for his wife, who's like a influencer or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
got a bunch of followers. Like, I don't know. I like when people have a bunch of followers in the gym. Usually, we're talking like 10 to 20K is like a lot. That's a shit ton when it comes to the gym. 5K is like a lot. Like, that's like you're probably a competitor. You know, maybe pro, but you definitely competed at a few shows and people will know who you are.
Yeah.
But most people aren't that high. But yeah, he carries around an actual like DSLR all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. But
with the
problem
microphone
for me
boom
is,
on it.
I don't think he has a microphone on it. She doesn't talk. He just takes photos of her training and shit. But the problem for me is like if they have like a lighting rig and shit and they take up a lot of space, that's my problem.
Yep.
You know, if you're going to take up a lot of space and you're just going to make it that much harder for people to use the work machinery and shit, it's just don't do that.
I'm yet to see someone film a video. I've seen like I forget what his name is, or I don't even know if I know his name. He works out at Zoo Culture, Bradley Martin's gym. He's a real big fucking white dude. And he always does this thing before each video where he like waves his arms and runs away from the camera, and then it like pans to the first movement he's doing. And I always wonder, like, if I was sitting there working out and I saw that, how would I react in person? And, like, especially if I didn't see his camera and I just see a guy go, woo!
Yeah, or he didn't know who he was or something.
Yeah.
I would just look and just wonder what the hell he was doing. And I'd see the camera and be like, oh, okay. It's like a bit.
One of you guys.
Yeah. One of them fuckers. But the other thing I want to talk about was something you found, stuff.
Yeah, I was
something about the Olympia.
Pretty interested in this.
Yeah.
I think it comes to like my interest in this like also comes from the fact that I'm not huge on men's open. I like when like especially like when I describe bodybuilding to like let's say I start talking to a girl for the first time and I describe like my passion in bodybuilding like from a fan perspective, from like you know training and everything. And they will look up, you know, like bodybuilding physiques or like bodybuilder, something like that. And it'll almost always, unless it's CBUM, it'll almost always be, you know, open competitors because that's what's, you know, the world of bodybuilding is kind of focused on that right now. And they're like, oh, that's no good. That's really weird. That's not attractive. And I'm like, well,
gross.
I'm more focused on, you know, classic physique. Like I want to look like the guys from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, like those guys. Like that's what I really want to be looking like. And so this interview I saw, I watch a decent amount of Bradley Martin stuff just because it pops up on my feeds, and Patrick Bet-David pops up on there talking to Bradley Martin about buying the Olympia. This was the actual interview had to be quite some time ago, like a year or so at least. But because when he was thinking about buying it, that was, I don't know.
Yeah, December 2023 was when he was on his podcast. I'm looking at the Instagram post.
Yeah. So
about 6 months ago.
Yeah. And so the point, he wanted to buy it, and Patrick Bet-David wanted to buy the Olympia, which, you know, buy the show, the licensing, all that, and kind of rewrite what the show was intended to be. Because right now, the most money is in men's open. Like I think even the top 5 outpay like the 5th place in men's open, I think outpays every top winner in the other divisions. Like it's either 5 or 3. Last time I looked at it, like the 3rd best or the 5th best in men's open outpays like CBum.
I know at least the top 3
Yeah.
outpay, but I don't know where the cutoff is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 2022. I'll find it. Go ahead.
Yeah. But point being, he went on this podcast and he's talking about
there it is.
Buying the Olympia.
So top 3 make more.
Okay.
400, 150, 100. Yeah, number 4 makes 40K. Number 5 makes 30K.
Yeah.
This is at least for the 2023 Olympia. So it might change for this year. Or no, this is 2022. Sorry. 2022. This is for 2022. I think it went up for 2023.
Yeah. Well, I know
and
that
they're saying it might go up for 24 as well.
Well, I know that number 1 took home like 400,000, something like that.
Yeah, usually that's what the past few years they've taken 400K home.
So even if you just,
it's probably going to go up.
Even if you just compare the number 1s, like CBum with like 60K, 80K, it was something like that.
It's 50K.
50K compared to 400,000 from Men's Open. It's clear that the focus is Men's Open, and especially from like a marketing and advertising side, Men's Open is where they're focused. But from anybody who's not in the bodybuilding world, classic physique or physique are like, those are the divisions that people would look at and be like, okay, I would like that. Like, that's good, especially physique. Like, just men's physique is like what people would want to see walking around. Like, that's the whole point of the division too. Like, best looking beach bod, you know? And
yeah, the ideal physique is what men's physique is supposed to be. Like what the average man would think is the ideal body is what men's physique is.
Even women are looking at that division and classic physique as, you know, what's actually attractive. So
yeah, even more so, it's like men's physique, like in the off season, is like what women would consider like dad bods and what they find like ideal, like muscular, not huge, like not enormous. Like classic physique is them fuckers are still fucking huge. Like they're big ass dudes. And then like men's physique is a little smaller than that. You get a little fat on you. You know, have a little bit of abs, some veins, stuff like that. That's what they find ideal. Like women love that. You know, they find the off season of bodybuilders is like dad bodies, which is bullshit. No dad bod is fucking off season bodybuilder, but that's what they like. They don't like the on season; they like the off season.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
And the overall point of the interview was that when Patrick Bet-David's looking at buying it, he wants to rewrite the way the Olympia is scored and run, to have a focus on, I mean, he doesn't outright say it, but classic physique and physique, because his thing is, I want to have people focus on, and I want to pay out symmetry, like aesthetics, like that is, and that's where bodybuilding came from. Like, what do you think, golden era, or even before that, it was based on aesthetics. It wasn't based on science experiments or anything like that. It was based on, you know, who could bring the best looking package to the stage. Yes, size started to play in the more popular it got, and now size is
that's
everything.
Where it started.
But you brought a package that looked the best, and that's kind of where he is thinking about, or not thinking about anymore because he couldn't buy it, but he didn't buy it. Someone else bought it. It was like, how can we bring the attention back to what looks good? And I put that in quotes because obviously, like, you and I appreciate the hell out of men's open competitors. Like, we see what looks good on that. But the rest of the world is more so what I'm focused on. And using in the interview he mentions utilizing, and this was 2023, so it's only really possible at this point, like this couldn't be a conversation 5-10 years ago, but utilizing AI for judging. Like, imagine instead, like, yes, you have your pre-judging, you have your routine, you have everything, but then imagine you go out there and you stand on the X like you would for any other show, and you hit poses, but you can look at the crowd, sure, but there is, like, let's say a box or something like camera or something like that you should be, like, aiming towards, that is judging you on symmetry, and that's going to be how you are actually judged, because it's going to be like, okay, I see that his left bicep is like within the inch range of his right bicep, like that close, and his veins are, or like his vascularity overall is pretty similar, and like taking things like that and making that the scoring like ideal way to score it. I think that it's a cool idea. Obviously, we aren't going to see it unless someone buys a big show and starts incorporating it. But I really think it's a cool idea because, you know, guys like me and you, we aren't as focused on men's open. Yes, we'll talk about it. Yes, we'll cover it. But you're obviously focused with men's physique. I'm a diehard for classic physique. Like, those are the things that we both enjoy. So it'd be definitely something that would help improve our categories per se. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
I think if it was its own its own show, I'd be more open to it. Like if it's its own, it would. If this were to ever come to fruition, it would never be part of the NPC or the IFBB. It would need to be its own thing. It would need to be in its own division, and the focus would need to be a combination of lack of body fat along with symmetry. And if we were to go based off of just pure symmetry, you would eliminate a lot of the overall competitors, because especially when it comes to midsection, very seldom is the human body ever perfectly symmetrical. It very rarely happens. There's very few examples of that. I want to say, why am I always fucking forget his name? The guy who just won the Olympia from men's physique last year. Look up the results. Ryan Terry. Yeah. So Ryan Terry, I think he might be like an example of like extremely symmetrical because of his midsection. Yeah, he's got a pretty symmetrical midsection. Not the most symmetrical. Like a good example of a very symmetrical midsection would be like, oh my gosh, what's his fucking name? Let me look up. I was just talking to my coach about him the other day. Let me look him up. Let me see here. Because he always lacked in chest, and that's the reason why he always got docked points. But let's see. Stephen Cow. Stephen Cow is a good example of a very symmetrical midsection. Whoops, wrong button. Let me see here. Yeah, he's got a very symmetrical midsection. Very small midsection, very short, like length, like top to bottom wise, but he's got a very symmetrical midsection. So like it would need to be someone like Stephen Cow who would even have a chance at doing well because he has a symmetrical midsection. That's the problem there. You can't get perfect symmetry in bodybuilding. And on top of that, yeah, you could theoretically be like, all right, based off of like past winners and like past placings and what the ideal physique would look like. The problem is you can't be like, okay, this is ideal based off of the past 60 years, because the ideal has shifted over time. You know, like Arnold back in the day would not win or even come close to winning now because technology has come a far way. You know, he does mention it where guys are dying in the late 30s and early 40s, but like some have, yes, absolutely. There are risks that you got to take, and some people push it too far, and unfortunately that does result in getting hurt and sometimes death. But these guys who are pushing it this far have shifted the curve. You know, they've pushed the goalpost so much further than it used to be. You know, there are very competitive bodybuilders back in the day. You know, Lee Haney's one of them. Lee Haney's very competitive. You know, Frank Zane is another one. Who is it prior to Franco Colombo? Franco Colombo's a good example. Who is it before Arnold, the Cuban? Sergio Oliva. Yeah. Yes, Sergio Oliva is a very competitive guy. He could be very competitive today.
Sergio, I mean, would, really, Sergio would. Yeah, he honestly would
even
win.
Given what he had back then. Yeah, do really, really well today. It goes to show that, like, I wonder what he would be able to pull off today. Like what, like his body would look like given the technology we have today, the machinery, the gear, the food, all of that. I really wonder what he would look like today, because he was fucking crazy back then.
It doesn't make sense, man. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, it's crazy. People say that he was the one of the only physiques out there that like would really like stop you in your tracks.
Like this competes today.
Which one?
Anything. This is all Sergio.
Yeah, the top left. Click on that top left one.
My lord. My lord.
Yeah. Yeah, he would really do well today. And that's also like a photo shoot. So he's not like ideal conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Scorpion pose. Or whatever it's called.
Oh my goodness.
That looks photoshopped. That doesn't look real. His arms don't look real there.
In 1969, there's no Photoshop back then.
I mean, I think somebody might have gone back and photoshopped
this is not photoshopped either.
That's real. That's so real. That's like a Looney Tunes character. Like he looks like he's in Looney Tunes Space Jam in that. Like he just took that special water that they drank. But yeah, no, there is no ideal physique from all of the previous history of bodybuilding, you know. It's shifted, it's changed. And like I said, the technology, you know, guys are leaner now today than they ever have been. Granted, you know, there's been other things that would help, like back in the early 2000s, like there was protein powder that would be illegal to purchase today, you know, with ephedrine in it and DMAA and stuff like that. And, you know, that does give them an edge. But at the end of the day, I mean, gear's fucking crazy now. I mean, Tren alone came out, 2012 or some shit? Like, it's still pretty new. And that's like next level, like, will change your whole fucking physique kind of shit, you know? So just given that there is no ideal physique, so we can't really use AI in that sense. If he wants to be like I mentioned, you know, who's the leanest and who has the best symmetry, sure, but you can't say who's got the best physique with AI.
I think it's more
so I get where he's coming from.
Yeah, I think it's more so just to like give it an objective standpoint. You know, like we talk about bodybuilding being subjective, but giving it objective where you have like, you know, think like, obviously this is not at all a comparison that works, but like think like Major League Baseball. The winner of Major League Baseball is the person or the team that wins the World Series. You have a tangible thing that you have achieved, and there is no like, you can argue if a team was better or not, but the winner that year was the team that won the World Series. And I think that, and that's played by, you know, a set of rules. And I think that that's really just what this is trying to focus on. Like, you have now a tangible set of rules moving into an event that, while I still think human judging is a good idea. Like, don't get rid of that completely. But like, if you have that, you have like a baseline for people to like work towards too. Like right now, like when if we take the Olympia cast right now, they are just like classic physique. You are trying to beat Chris Bumstead. Men's Open, you are trying to beat either Hadi Chupin or Derek Lunsford. Like, you are trying to beat people. You're not trying, like, you don't have like the 9-inning spread, you know what I mean? So I think that's really what this would kind of promote for that. I don't know. It definitely has its issues. I get that. And like I said, we won't see it because Patrick Bet-David didn't buy the Olympia, and unless he buys a different show, probably not going to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's with the way it's structured that there's a lot of beauties and downfalls to it. You know, it's just like any sport. There's always good and bad. You know, being a solo sport, it's good because you don't have to rely on anybody else. But then at the same time, like, if you have an off day, that means you fucking lose. Where in football, if you have an off day, this team can still play really, really well, regardless of your, you know, lack of performance. You know, so it's like there's pros and cons, and the subjectivity of it is the beauty and a downfall to it. It is a flaw to it, but it's also what's beautiful about it is that everybody's going to have their own opinion, and no one physique is going to be the same as the other. You know, you can never replicate somebody's physique. You can never be like, oh, I want to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're never going to look like him because Arnold had Arnold physique. You have your own physique. You know, you might not be the same height, you might not be the same width. Like, even your bone structure alone, that alone will just eliminate looking like anybody else because everybody's bone structure is different, you know? So there's always pros and cons to it. and you just got to make the best of what you have. And I think the biggest thing that was addressed here is that the way that the market is moving and the way that the industry is going and what people finding what they like is significantly more people, like astronomically more. Unbelievably, can't even fathom it. More people are getting more into classic than they are into open. Like, it's
try and get more adjectives in there, buddy.
Like, dude, it's like a fucking tidal wave, and they're not recognizing it. They're like, "Oh, we'll pay open out more," and I'm like, "Dude, you realize that like C-Bomb's following alone beats all of Open Olympia?"
Yes,
like it's not even fucking close. Like, it's astronomically farther, like as far as the following goes. And also just the ideal physique, like classic physique was originally like, oh, like let's give it back to like the golden era. Like, let's see who can have like the physique now that's kind of similar to the back in the day, where open is like the biggest and leanest, and like how far can we push the human body, where classic was originally the idea, like kind of what men's physique became. So the men's physique was like who had the ideal body, but classic was like who had the ideal bodybuilding body, right? It was like another step above that. And it was also referencing old bodybuilding too, like back in the 60s and 70s, like having a similar physique to that. And it's become now like the most ideal physiques within the bodybuilding community. At least it's no longer open. You know, nearly as many people want to compete in open. And if you want to see how many people really want to compete in open, go to a seminar, go to a posing seminar.
No,
I've been to a few.
Go to an amateur show. There'll be one dude.
Yeah, exactly. Go to an amateur show, and if there's a guy competing in posing or open, I almost guarantee you he's competing in classic. But his main focus, I almost guarantee you, is classic.
Yeah.
Very few guys do open and only open. Very few. Same with men's physique. Very few. Or classic, very few guys only do classic, but when they do classic, that's their main goal. They might do another one because they fit into it, you know, whether that's men's physique or men's open, but most of them focus on classic. But if you go to a posing seminar, the last one I went to, I would say for about 60%, maybe 55% was classic. The remaining like 39% was men's physique, and then about 1% was men's open. There might have been like one guy there wanting to do men's open.
Yeah.
Like it's a clear fucking divide. Like, it's clear, like men's open is not what it used to be. And it's unfortunate, but it's also just the way it's going. You know, classic physique is what's taken over, and that's what they addressed here. You know, why not pay classic physique a lot more since they're bringing in a lot more? And that's what Arnold is going to be doing. And
I was going to say, that's also, take money aside, they're also like, Patrick Bet-David's idea is also to take the title of Mr. Olympia, because right now the Mr. Olympia is the person who wins the open category, and his thing is take that title, saying like, you are Mr. Olympia, and have that be for the winner of classic physique. So now, instead of like, right now we have Mr. Olympia Classic, Mr. Olympia Physique. Like, those are your three. It would now be Mr. Olympia Open, Mr. Olympia Physique. Like, it would be that instead, because of the focus on classic physique. Or even, I doubt it is what he talked about here, but physique would even be more in line with what the, you know, old days of bodybuilding were. Like, having that awesome physique that you could look at instead of open. So I think like having those two be the front runners is really what this push is for. And like you mentioned, the Arnold is shifting towards this. And I mean, if you take even the winner of the Arnold this year with Wesley Vissers, like, his lat insertions are in a different spot, like considerably different spot than C-Bomb's. So it's like, how would AI judge that? They're both symmetrical. They're just in very different spots. So it's like, that would be a very interesting thing to see. I would love to.
You'd only, by symmetry, you'd have to do the symmetry vertically. You cannot do symmetry horizontally with the human physique. It'd have to be vertically. It'd have to be left to right, not up to down in any sort of way. So that would be where that would come in. But I mean, I think, you know, men's physique will get bigger over time as far as popularity goes, because I mean, look at the weight cap, for instance. Ryan Terry won at 203, but the weight cap for 6 foot is 209. So we're not even at like the biggest the men's physique guys could get, you know? So by the time we get there, it could be a lot more popularity in men's physique. But like the Arnold competitor or Arnold show, you just say like Arnold Classic winner, Arnold Classic, you know, whatever winner you are, you just Arnold Classic Open or something, you know, like you could say like if you look at people's bios and Instagram and shit that say that they've won the Arnold, they'll just say like Arnold ×6 or something, or like Arnold winner ×4 or whatever it is. So it's not as much as like Mr. Olympia is like the Open. There is no like Arnold, the winner of the Arnold is the Open. It's all kind of just like the Arnold.
Yeah.
You don't get like a title specifically to one division. It's all just kind of shared. So like that's fine. Mr. Olympia, I think if eventually Classic Physique were to make more money and or bring in more people, which I think it does already. As far as like an audience goes, I think Classic Physique brings in more of an audience than Men's Open does at this point. But if it were to get to the point where they pay out more for Classic, then you should transition it to Mr. Olympia being Classic.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a tough road because it's like, if you win Classic Physique as a Mr. Olympia, you would be put among Ronnie, you know, like Ronnie and Jay Cutler and all them as like Mr. Olympias, even though you competed in technically a different division. So there's going to be some controversy there, you know, where you're put in the same pool as guys who didn't compete, who competed in a show that never, like Ronnie and Jay Cutler competed against each other when Classic Physique and Men's Physique were not a thing. There was only there's only Men's Open. It wasn't even really Men's Open. It was just bodybuilding.
Yeah,
that's what it was. It was just there's one division. And that's how most bodybuilding has always been. Classic Physique and Men's Physique didn't come around until like early 2010s. So we're still at the scratching at the surface here of what could happen in the future.
This is just from the previous thing from if AI were to pick. It took me a while to get it to actually choose one, but it ended up going with Bumstead for the symmetry standpoint. It took me a while to get it because it kept saying these two guys are known for this and this, and it never wants to take a stance because of like betting and stuff like that. So I had to finally throw in from previous results. So
it's saying Wesley Vissers and CBum.
Well, no. I posed them against each other. My initial question was between these two, who would you like? Who has better symmetry? And it never wanted to actually answer it until I put based on previous results. And therefore,
that's just based off the results. So.
Yeah, if I had to pick
not
based
actual
on previous
images.
results, Chris Bumstead. So
yeah, I mean, but then like the problem is too is you're also throwing in more variables where the AI could mess up somehow, or you know, somebody could put in a photo wrong, or the photo comes up pixelated. Like there could be, you know, the camera is not focused right. Like there could be so many different variables.
Imagine you lose a show because you're out of focus.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like the AI just doesn't read you properly, or like maybe it prefers certain skin tones, you know, like maybe your skin tone is just a little off for it. It doesn't like your skin tone, or maybe your beard, you know, if you have like a beard and it like throws it off or something, you know, like stuff like that is variables that you'd have to account for. And because of that, you would most likely need some sort of human oversight over it. Then it's like, okay, but why not just like have the AI scan when it can, and then just have people look at the results and be like, all right, based off what we could find, based off the photos and all of that, this is the most symmetrical. It might not be according to the AI, but you know, based off the pixelated photos and stuff like that, like this is actually the most symmetrical or whatever. Like you still would need somebody to make some sort of judgment call on what is actually correct. And then at that point, it's like, maybe we should just do judges and just focus on symmetry and leanness and have one division rather than like size being a factor or freakiness or anything like that. Just simply straight up mathematical symmetry and lack of body fat.
Yep.
You know, but also you got to promote some size because there's some skinny ass dudes competing out there who are fucking lean, but they're tiny. You know, you got a pound of muscle on your body, but you got 0% body fat. You're going to look like a fucking alien. There's some people out there. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea. And it's got potential, maybe. But I think the biggest thing that we need to do is properly reward those who are bringing in the audience, and that's where classic physique is going.
Yeah, well, I'd say classic and physique. I think there's some physique
men's
dudes.
Physique is getting there.
Well, just from like, if you take like Instagram followings, I'm willing to bet physique guys have more than open guys.
I think Ryan Terry's got close to 10 million now.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. And C-Bum's got like probably 14 or 15.
22.
Something like that. Oh, fuck. The last I checked, I could have sworn he was like 13 or 14. That's insane.
Let me do an update.
Dude, I remember following him when he had like 1 million, I think, and some change. Like, it was not that much.
23.8.
What the fuck? Who's following him now? Like, it's not like he just won a show.
Let's see all
He's
his
just
followers.
living his life.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, let's read every name.
Ooh, there are 29 mutual. Who are my friends following? It's like 3 of your accounts.
Probably. But yeah, there's a lot of guys following the men's physique competitors as well. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think Men's Open does have a really big following, especially people like Derek Lunsford, Rodney Coleman, stuff like that. So, men's physique having more than Men's Open? It's a toss-up. I don't know. I couldn't say whether or not one has more than the other. I do think that men's physique is going in that direction of having more, but right now I'm not sure. But Classic for sure has more than Open.
Derek Lunsford has a still impressive 1.3 million followers. So,
oh fuck! I thought he'd be the most. How much does Big Ramy have? Check Big Ramy. He'll be up there too.
Let's see.
Mahmoud, isn't it Mahmoud?
Yeah,
I think it's Mahmoud.
Nope, that's Ramon Dino. I don't know. I'm struggling to find his account.
Just look up Big Ramy.
Oh, there it is. Wow, that's a. I don't know if I don't know if this is him actually. This is just all clickbait. The Guru PhD. No, that's not it.
Yeah, it's Mamdou Alsba. I found his Instagram account. It's fine. I got it. Yeah, 5.2 million. Yeah, I knew he'd be up there.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of the Middle East following him because he's done really well. So he's got a lot of followers on that side of the country or side of the world. Dude, like, it still blows my mind how fucking big some of these guys are. Why is he dressed up as Jesus with a blonde wig and a harp?
Ramy?
Yeah. You see that photo?
No, I never.
It's just big underscore Ramy. Yeah, let me share my screen. I'll show you. I'm not logged into Instagram here, but I'll show you. Shit, I gotta allow it. 1 sec. Right here. What the fuck is this? I can't click on it because I'm not logged in, but what is this post? What is that? Oh, look how big he is here. It's kind of hard to tell, but like...
Oh my god, compared to his family, yeah.
Absolutely fucking insane. This person right here is as big as, like, his right chest. Or left chest, I mean, in this photo. His left pec. Yeah, this dude's fucking huge. But yeah, so 5.2 million followers. So he's up there for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, who else could it be? Maybe let me think here. Maybe Brandon Curry. Let's see. 1.3 million. Okay, 1.3 million for Brandon Curry. I mean, it's really not as much as you'd think. Yeah, 1.2 million and some change, probably.
And C-Bum just has everybody.
Yeah, and then like look at like Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks is one. Okay, he don't got that much.
Still,
I mean, in comparison to like, of course, but like in comparison to like other Olympia winners.
Look at that.
Well, Ryan
before and after picture for him.
Yeah, this was, I think, before he started really competing. I think he was like, I want to say he was a competitor before something happened and he like stopped doing it, and then he got back into it, and that's where he is now.
Yeah.
And that's what these before and afters are. There's a few. I'm not logged in. I can't scroll any further, but there are a few where he shows that, like, the differences. I'm pretty sure Ryan Terry has a ton though. Oh wow, I thought it was more. Okay, 2.5 million. Okay, I thought it was more. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think men's physique is getting there. I think Open still has more followers, at least on Instagram alone. But I do think that men's physique is going in that direction. Like, look, he doesn't look absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
That's why men's physique is getting more popular. It's because you don't have to be giant, like 300 fucking pounds.
Exactly.
to compete, off season, like this is what a lot of women like, like you could tell he trains. He's got a lot of muscle mass, he's in really good shape in the off season. Yeah. He's just, he is just generally a good looking dude, but, and that's the direction the industry is going. A lot more men's physique. I mean, even the past the past couple of seminars, same year, same seminar. Last year, so 2023, there was like half the men's physique guys that there was this year. Yeah. It was not nearly as much. It's getting bigger and bigger. But they also got the weight caps now, which is a lot higher. You can be a lot bigger than before, and get rewarded for it, So, we'll see what ends up happening, but I think that is an interesting thing to keep in mind. Is what could AI do for it if there is ever some sort of application, and what is considered perfect symmetry, because like if you're posing, maybe your pose fucks up your symmetry.
Yeah.
Do you just stand there straight and with your arm straight down and just stay as still as possible?
Lat syndrome.
You just puff everything up. You just get a really good pump beforehand and you just try to flex everything while not moving.
Everyone, please mog at the same time.
I need everyone to do a ziz for me. I need to be motivated.
That's how we will determine symmetry. Who can mog the best?
Who's got the best? And then stage presence. That's another one. Stage presence too. Like you might have the best physique, but if you don't come out there and fucking show it, you're not going to win. It's like there's that. There's a lot of variables. There's a fucking ton of variables you have to take into account.
Yep.
So. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. I think it's a cool topic, but did end up happening, and I really hope The Rock doesn't purchase the Olympia. I'll be very upset about that. Very much not a Rock fan anymore. He's getting fucking annoying. So it's the you see that real quick before we call it a day, but did you see that he supposedly tried In-N-Out for the fourth time?
No.
So every few years he'll post, this is my first time having In-N-Out. This is what I'm getting. And then he'll have like his tequila with it. Like he promotes Terramana fucking every post on Instagram. But not too long ago, like a month ago, he's like, this is my first time having In-N-Out. It's like, dude, you just said that a year ago.
Yeah.
And a year ago, people were like, oh, I thought you've had it before. And he's like, no, I was picking it up for people. But like a few years ago, he said the same thing. And then like
maybe like different locations, like first time at this location.
No, he just literally says In-N-Out in general, just at In-N-Out. Like not specifically one, they're all, it's a franchise, I think, but it's kind of like McDonald's where they're all the same. It's a franchise, but they're all the same. You're going to get the same experience everywhere. But yeah, it's just, I'm getting fucking tired of it. And like he's just so out of touch at this point. He's so out of touch with the general population, especially like Hawaii was a big example, that big, the really bad fire. He's like, oh, we're going to start this charity and we're donating, between him and Oprah Winfrey, they're like, we're donating $1 million or something. And it's like, dude, that's a drop in the bucket. Like, I understand $1 million's $1 million, but still it's like you guys own properties in Hawaii that are worth way more than that, that were untouched because you had your own private firefighters.
Yep.
So anyways, that's The Rock is just losing popularity, which is interesting to see, but hopefully he doesn't purchase the Olympia. And his training is also fucking whack. There is that too. So, he only does half reps for fucking everything. But yeah, so that's our spiel for the day, and we'll be back next week. I got Florida in a couple weeks. We'll figure out something for that, but next week we'll be back with something else.
Oh yeah.
And we appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you guys.
Peace.